Hello, friends. Welcome back to Intelligent Pod, the show where we dive deep into the issues shaping our minds, our society, and our future, all through the lens of thoughtful curiosity. I'm your host, Sophie Lane, and today's topic is one that touches all of us, whether we realize it or not. We're going to be tackling combating digital polarization, strategies for bridging divides. A topic that's as relevant as your morning newsfeed and as urgent as your next online debate. So, let's set the scene. Whether you're scrolling through social media, reading the comment section on a news article, or even chatting in a group text, you've probably noticed how quickly conversations can split into us versus them. Opinions seem more extreme, people less willing to compromise, and even friendships can get tense over digital disagreements. This is digital polarization, the increasing division of opinions and identities online, often amplified by algorithms, echo chambers, and, let's be honest, our own human tendencies. But here's the good news. Understanding digital polarization is the first step toward bridging those divides. Today, we'll explore what digital polarization is, why it happens, and, most importantly, actionable strategies you can use in your own life to foster more thoughtful, less divisive conversations online. We'll look at psychological, scientific, and cultural perspectives, spotlight a fascinating academic study, share a real-life story, and wrap up with practical advice you can start using today. So, grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's get into it. Let's start by unpacking what digital polarization actually means. In simple terms, it's the process by which people's beliefs and opinions become more extreme and less tolerant of opposing viewpoints, especially in online spaces. You might have heard the phrase echo chamber. That's when you're mostly exposed to information and opinions that reinforce your own, making it easier to dismiss or even dislike people who think differently. Here's a stat that really brings it home. According to a 2023 Pew Research Center study, over 60% of Americans say they feel exhausted by the amount of political content on social media, and nearly half have either unfollowed or blocked someone because of political disagreements. That's not just a reflection of political polarization. It's a symptom of how our digital spaces are shaping the way we interact with one another. But digital polarization isn't only political. Think about debates over climate change, public health, even parenting styles. Algorithms on platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok tend to show us content that aligns with our interests and beliefs, which feels comfortable, but it can also reinforce divisions. The more we engage with one perspective, the less likely we are to see or even seek out the other side. Okay, so that's the what. Let's dig into the why and look at this from a few different angles. First off, the psychological perspective. Our brains are hardwired to crave certainty and belonging. Cognitive biases like confirmation bias make us more likely to seek information that supports what we already believe. There's even a term for the discomfort we feel when confronted with conflicting information: cognitive dissonance. Social media platforms know this, and their algorithms feed us content that keeps us comfortable, engaged, and yes, clicking. Now, the scientific angle. Researchers have been studying online polarization for years. One landmark study, published in the journal Science in 2018, looked at how exposure to opposing political views on Twitter affected users' beliefs. The researchers recruited hundreds of active Twitter users who identified as either strongly liberal or strongly conservative. For a month, these participants followed a bot that retweeted messages from the other side of the political spectrum. The result? Instead of becoming more moderate, the participants actually became more entrenched in their original beliefs. In other words, simple exposure to the other side didn't bridge the gap, it widened it. So, is all hope lost? Not at all. Let's bring in a cultural perspective, because context matters. In some societies, public discourse is less combative and more consensus-driven. For example, in countries like Finland and Norway, the culture emphasizes dialogue and mutual respect, even in the face of disagreement. This isn't just because people are nicer. It's the result of deliberate efforts in education, media, and community engagement to foster critical thinking and empathy. Let me tell you a real-life story that illustrates the human side of this issue. A friend of mine, let's call her Maya, was part of a local Facebook group focused on community events and neighborhood issues. Over time, the group started to fracture over a contentious local policy. Posts quickly became heated, people unfriended each other, and even stopped speaking in real life. Instead of logging off, Maya organized a digital town hall, a Zoom call where group members could share their perspectives face-to-face, with the rule that everyone had to listen without interrupting. It wasn't a miracle cure, but it did help people see the humanity behind the opinions. Some even apologized for things they'd posted online. That's the power of intentional dialogue. So what can we learn from all this? And more importantly, what can you do to combat digital polarization in your own life? Let's break it down into actionable strategies. First, diversify your feed. Seek out reputable sources that challenge your views. This doesn't mean doom scrolling through hate speech or misinformation, but rather intentionally exposing yourself to well-argued perspectives from across the spectrum. You might be surprised at how much nuance you find. Second, practice digital empathy. Remember that there's a real person behind every avatar and username. When you find yourself in a heated debate, try to pause and ask, what life experiences might have led this person to their beliefs? Even if you disagree, empathy can help de-escalate conflict. Third, question your own assumptions. Before hitting share or comment, take a moment to reflect. Am I adding to the conversation or just amplifying division? Am I open to changing my mind or just looking for validation? Honest self-reflection is a powerful tool. Fourth, engage in slow thinking. Social media encourages quick reactions, but real understanding takes time. If a post makes you angry, consider stepping away before responding. Sometimes a thoughtful response, or even no response at all, is the best way to keep things civil. And finally, bring conversations offline when possible. Digital spaces are great for connection, but they're not always ideal for resolving complex disagreements. If you're comfortable, suggest a phone call, video chat, or even a coffee meetup. Face-to-face interaction can humanize even the sharpest disagreements. Let's recap what we've covered today. Digital polarization is a growing challenge, fueled by psychological biases, algorithmic design, and cultural factors. While simply exposing ourselves to opposing views isn't enough, there are practical strategies we can use to bridge divides. Diversifying our information diet, practicing empathy, questioning assumptions, slowing down our reactions, and reconnecting offline. Each small step can make our digital spaces, and by extension, our society, a little more thoughtful, a little more compassionate, and a lot less divided. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a reflective thought. The internet is one of the greatest tools for connection ever invented, but it's up to us to decide how we use it. Next time you find yourself disagreeing online, try to see the person, not just the post. Who knows, you might even learn something new, not just about them, but about yourself. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Intelligent Pod. If you found today's discussion helpful, please consider leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps others discover the show. For show notes, links to the studies and resources I mentioned, and more, head over to intelligentpod.com. And if you have thoughts, stories, or feedback on today's topic, I'd love to hear from you. Email me anytime at sophie@intelligentpod.com. Remember, curiosity is the antidote to division. Until next time, I'm Sophie Lane, and this is Intelligent Pod. Stay thoughtful, stay kind, and keep bridging those divides.